back on the American Dream Business Roundtable with Greg Noe, my co-host, and William Winship, and CEO of Portico. And we're talking about the Amish and different socialization and how they work in business. And, you know, one thing I want to know is, they don't watch television, do they?
Well, I was surprised to learn, and I don't know the direct answer to this, but technology is always a question with the Amish.
Sure.
And well, because they don't drive, I assumed that they were totally devoid of advanced technology, if you call it that. But I come to find out that almost every one of them had a cell phone, had a computer, and I don't know what the rule is. I suspect that they're not allowed to use their computer for entertainment purposes, but for business, it's okay.
Well, the bishop really is the governing person that decides these rules. Mm-hmm. So literally in the community, there could be one bishop that has certain rules, and there could be another bishop that has different rules. Oh. And then you've got different sections of the Mennonites. For instance, my adopted parents that adopted me in the community, they call me their son. They treat me like I am part of the community. They actually came from the Black Bumper Mennonites. And I'm going to equate that to the highest ranking.
Well, can I interrupt you there for a minute so that we can explain to our viewers
what the Black Bumper
what
means?
That is, if I could be so bold as to say that it's the shiny chrome that is offensive in some way, and that although they're driving cars, they're not allowed to have cars that have shiny bumpers, and so before they have or own those cars, they have to go through and blacken the bumpers, and hence they're called Black Bumper Mennonites.
Yep.
Black the bumpers.
And Luke Weaver and his wife, actually they're 90 years old now. They've gone through our marriage seminar. It's weird to watch a couple that age go through a marriage seminar. But they were training me. And I remember Luke, he wrote a little booklet, and in his book, he wrote the day he quit becoming or being a Black Bumper Mennonite. He went out to his bumper and he removed the black paint and he got the chrome bumper back. And you know, the rules are different, and it's like anything. Could I mention, I wrote a book this week?
Sure.
Okay, the book that we wrote, ironically, is called Winship Rules. And it really is a nautical theme. It's about the nautical. And I'm going to tie this together. You know, we all have a certain set of rules that we govern our life by.
Right.
And so it is those governing rules that guides our decisions and creates those futures. And so all these years, I've been working toward compiling from the experience that we've had this little booklet. And it provides really some ideas around how to govern your life in a safe way. We talk about that as safe power. And so what are we really dealing with in a community like Lancaster and all the issues? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was almost like a firecracker could have gone off in that community and blown everything up, because they really prize, at the end of the day, they really prize peace. They're a peaceful community, and they like to remain peaceful. Yet the issues that existed could have caused a lot of issues in the community. So they brought us in to govern some time together and to create those safe environments where they could work through these disciplines that ultimately we're talking about in our new book, Winship Rules.
That sounds pretty exciting, actually.
And the discussion that I'm trying to provoke here with the Amish, or about the Amish and Mennonite, is so that we can draw some conclusions. Not everybody's going to have contact with these groups, and so I'm trying to use this as a backdrop for some lessons, some life lessons. And one of the lessons that some people might be inclined to draw is that they're very close-knit and they look after each other, and it's all about each other. Well, that is true, but not to the extent that you would believe. Yeah. There was a story of an English person who lost a barn to a fire, And it wasn't but a couple days before all the Amish and Mennonite in the neighborhood were out there rebuilding this guy's barn.
Right.
He was not part of their community, being English.
Right.
And so I just wanted to put that label on it, that it's bigger than just self-interest. Some people, let's look out for ourselves and forget about everybody else. And that's not what they're all about.
But Luke and Edna, who are really pioneers and really amazing people, their whole pain, if you will, was that you've got all these different sections, and the fire would come, the barn would burn, and the community would come together on that project. But then they would disassemble and they would go into their little subsections,
Right.
and they wouldn't communicate well with each other because of all the different rules that were preventing them to assemble and work together cohesively.
Right.
And Luke and Edna, if they've taught me this one thing, their whole life has been about bringing the community together. And what I learned, and the way the English operate, most English, if you watch like Donald Trump as an example, it's kind of a win-lose kind of I win, you lose, and that's not negotiation. And we talked about negotiation, but the real negotiation that the Amish and Mennonite have taught me, the life's lesson
Right.
really is, we've got to consider the triple win. What does it look like? If the Amish wins and the English win and the community that's being served win, that's the triple win. And that's kind of a Luke and Edna idea. How can we get the community rallied around some big vision and mission where we can work together and create ultimately harmony?
Right.
And that's the passion here, the passion.
Yeah, and the win-win situation we were talking about earlier, that many English follow this pattern. I don't know whether it came out of The Art of War or some of these other writings that are out there, that for you to win, somebody else has to lose.
Right.
And I think I understand it to some extent, that if you negotiate a lower price on your car, well, somebody's going to be taking a hit on that money.
Sure.
But I think there's a range in there where everybody wins. The salesman, the dealership, they all make a nice amount of money. They're happy with it.
Yep.
I mean, they spend money giving away things.
Or let's use an example of you owning a car and you selling it yourself.
Right.
I watched a negotiation today of a gal that she knew exactly what she wanted. She was willing to work at it, but within about 10 minutes she negotiated by just she had him go up $100. And he bought it.
Yeah.
So, you see it, she wanted to sell the car. She didn't want to lose.
Right.
So she had to make a decision which way she was going to have to go. And she felt like if she gave a little, she would sell it.
I think in a lot of those situations, it's predetermined. Before somebody sets the selling price, they realize, I'm not going to get that price. I'm going to go down 5 or 10% or a couple $100 or whatever. So it's part of the negotiation process, if you will. I'm going to ask for $3,000, but I really only want $2,500, and I expect you to push me back. And
people do business with people they trust.
Yeah.
Right.
They remain in business with people of character.
That's right.
And my neighbor this week, which actually sold us our house and financed it at a very reasonable rate of interest, I might add. I called him up because he's kind of like the good old boy network. It's kind of like the Amish. If you're in, you're in. And if you're not in, they'll let you know too.
Right.
And I called him up. I said, I need someone that can fix my car. And he gave me a referral of a gentleman. I called him up today. We had a conversation. He told me what the problem was, and I learned by his dialogue I could trust him. And whatever number he was going to give me, it was going to be a yes. And so what we're talking about in negotiation isn't that I win, you lose. Now, he could have given me a number, let's say it was $1,500, and I could have said, well, I'll pay you $1,400. See, I don't think that we negotiate well. When we do business with people that are trustworthy and demonstrate that by their character and their conversations, that's really a deep when we're talking about Amish, that is a deeply ingrained cultural reality.
And on that note, we need to take a short break. And we'll
Okay.
be right back with Greg Noe and William Winship on the American Dream Business Roundtable.